Welcome to Medicine and Murder. A British doctor travels to sunny Santa Cruz, hoping to learn new ways of healing. Instead, he finds himself trapped in a web of secrets, stolen research, and sudden death. What begins as a search for medical knowledge soon turns into a dangerous struggle for truth and survival. Chapter 1. Trouble in Santa Cruz. Mark Latto stopped and looked at a white wooden house on West Cliff Drive. Many houses along the California coast looked like this, especially in Santa Cruz. But this one was different. There was a police car outside. A police car didn't always mean something bad, but Latto felt a cold shiver run down his back. Something was wrong. He walked towards the front door. As he reached it, a very large man, nearly 2 meters tall and almost as wide as the doorway, stepped out. He was wearing the dark blue uniform of the Santa Cruz police. "Yes?" the policeman asked in a slow American voice. "I'm here to see Deborah Spencer," said Latto. "She's waiting for me." "And you are?" "My name's Mark Latto. I'm a doctor. I came from Britain to see her." "Come in, Dr. Latto," the officer replied, moving aside. "I'm afraid I have bad news. Mrs. Spencer was found dead early this morning." "Oh, no!" Latto gasped, covering his mouth. "That's terrible!" "Yes," the officer continued. "So you won't be able to meet her. But a detective will be here shortly. He may want to talk with you." "Detective?" Latto asked carefully. "Are you saying—" "I'm not saying anything, Doctor," the officer interrupted, staring directly at him. "Just sit in that room." He pointed to an open door on the right. "Someone will come soon." Latto entered a bright living room with a large window facing the sea. He placed his sunglasses on the coffee table and looked out. It was a sunny March morning. West Cliff Drive was busy with joggers and dog walkers. Out on the wharf, a van was unloading supplies for the restaurants, and a few people were fishing. Even though it was early in the year, some tourists were already walking along the pier. Latto was tall, with dark brown hair and blue eyes. He wore a light jacket, trousers, and a pale blue shirt. Looking into the wall mirror, he thought he seemed older than his 30-something years. Probably jet lag, he told himself. Though it was 10 in the morning in California, his body was still on British time. He sat in a yellow chair by the window and closed his eyes. "Dr. Latto!" A voice woke him. A short, grey-haired man in his late 50s stood in front of him. "I'm Tony Martinez, detective with the Santa Cruz Police," the man said, pulling out a notebook and pen. "Hello, Detective Martinez," Latto replied, beginning to rise. "Stay seated," Martinez told him. "I just need to ask a few questions." Latto sat forward, uneasy. Martinez settled opposite him on the sofa. His trousers and shoes were old and worn. "Officer Seymour said you're British," Martinez began. "That's right. How did you know Ms. Spencer?" Latto paused. "I'm a doctor of Western medicine. She was a doctor of Chinese medicine. She had ideas I found interesting. We exchanged emails about them, and I came here to learn more from her." "So, how well did you know her?" "I met her once 2 years ago in London. We had dinner, otherwise we only emailed." "And what was her work that interested you?" Latto thought for a moment. "Do you know Parkinson's disease?" "Yes, old people get it. They shake a lot," Martinez said. Latto smiled slightly. "Not only old people, young people can get it too. It causes shaking in arms or legs, slow movement, stiff faces. Many problems." Martinez nodded. "And what can doctors do?" "Not much in Western medicine," Latto admitted. "But Deborah was trying a new method to help." "I see," Martinez wrote in his notebook. "When did you arrive in the States?" "Yesterday afternoon. I landed in San Francisco around 2 and drove here. Got in about 5. How long will you stay? I planned for 2 weeks. Now, I don't know. Martinez stood. You can't leave town yet. Tell Officer Seymour where you're staying. And if you want to leave, ask me first. He gave Latto a card. Latto also stood. May I ask, how did she die? We don't know yet, said Martinez. The police scientists are checking her body. But you're a detective. Why are you here? Latto asked. I'm making sure nothing strange happened. Martinez replied. No break-in, no fight, no sign she killed herself. Looks like she just died suddenly. I'm sorry, Doctor, but sometimes it happens. You must know that. Latto said nothing. He knew sudden deaths were possible. Heart failure, for example, but rare, especially for a healthy, cheerful 42-year-old doctor with everything to live for. Again, the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Chapter 2. The Break-In. Latto was staying at the Ocean View Motel on the side of a hill across from the wharf. His room was halfway up the hill, facing the sea. It was large, with a double bed, a desk, a TV, and a cupboard. There was also a small kitchen and bathroom. Outside was a plastic table with 2 chairs, perfect for sitting in the sun and looking at the wharf and the beach. He returned to his room around midday, lay down on the bed, and slept for a while. Later he sat outside, thinking about Deborah Spencer. She had been friendly and smart. At first she was surprised that a Western doctor wanted to know about her work. But once she saw he was serious, she gladly shared her ideas by email. It was hard to believe she was gone, and in such an unusual way. He hoped the police would learn the truth. Latto wondered what to do with his 2 weeks in Santa Cruz. He knew Deborah had worked with 2 other doctors, Ray and Sylvia, but only knew their first names. Should he try to meet them? Since Martinez wasn't letting him leave town yet, finding them seemed like a good idea. Maybe the detective would know who they were. By 6 o'clock, Latto felt hungry. Across the road, next to the wharf, was Casey's Bar and Grill, where he had eaten the night before. It was a lively place with good food and service. He ordered a steak and a margarita, and while eating, he remembered that he had left his sunglasses on Deborah's coffee table. The police might still be at her house, so he decided to go back after dinner. At about 8, Latto walked up West Cliff Drive. The beach was empty, though sea lions splashed and played under the wharf. Passing the Coast Santa Cruz Hotel, he stopped at Deborah's house. A white Dodge was parked outside. Probably the police scientists, he thought. The front door was slightly open. Latto pushed it wide and stepped in. Everything was quiet. "Hello," he called. No answer. The living room was empty. So was the dining room. Looking upstairs, he thought he heard a sound. "Hello," he called again, climbing the stairs. At the top there were 4 doors. One stood half open. It led into an office. As Latto moved towards it, the door suddenly burst open. A young man rushed out, looking angry. He held a laptop under his arm and an empty flower pot in his hand. "Who are you?" the man demanded. But without waiting for an answer, he swung the pot at Latto's head. Latto turned slightly, but not enough. The pot smashed against his skull, sending him crashing into the wall. His world went black. "Dr. Latto, wake up! Are you okay?" Latto opened his eyes. His head felt as if stones were rolling inside it. Detective Martinez was leaning over him. "Do I look okay?" Latto groaned. Martinez smiled faintly. "Honestly, Doc, you look terrible." "Thanks," Latto muttered, struggling to his feet. He checked his head in a mirror. "It hurts, but I think I'm lucky." "Good," said Martinez. "Now tell me what happened." "I came back for my sunglasses. The door was open. I thought the police were still here. I called out, but no one answered. Upstairs, a man came out of the office and hit me with a flower pot. He had a laptop under his arm. Martinez pulled out his notebook. Can you describe him? Medium height, old jeans, black t-shirt, baseball cap, gold earring in his left ear. Martinez wrote it down. And the laptop. Yes, he was carrying it. Martinez sighed. Probably just a kid. Saw the police cars and knew the house would be empty tonight. Thought he could steal something. I'll send someone to show you photos tomorrow at the motel. Maybe you can identify him. All right, said Latto. Let's get you to the hospital. Martinez suggested. No thanks, I just need sleep and aspirin. Latto said. Martinez chuckled. You're the doctor. Walking back along West Cliff Drive, Latto couldn't stop thinking. A sudden death, and then a robbery at the same house on the same day. It couldn't just be chance. Chapter 3. Meeting Ray and Sylvia. The next morning, Latto woke with a painful headache. He took aspirin and made coffee. Wearing jeans and a light blue shirt, he sat outside his room. Down on the beach, people were already playing volleyball. To the right, near the Coast Santa Cruz Hotel, about 20 surfers were waiting on their boards for waves. Life here was very different from his hometown of Melrose in Scotland, which was small, inland, and often wet or cold at this time of year. Still, he reminded himself why he had come. His patients with Parkinson's disease needed him to learn new ways of helping them. Latto realized he hadn't checked his emails since arriving. He brought out his laptop and connected to the internet. As the messages loaded, there was a knock at the door. He opened it to see a young woman and an older, tired-looking man. Mark Latto, the woman asked. Yes, I'm Sylvia Koning, and this is Ray Molinaro. She shook his hand, then Ray's. We worked with Deborah Spencer. She told us about you. We just came from Detective Martinez. He said you were here, so we thought we should meet. Sylvia was in her late 20s, with long brown hair tied back, clear grey eyes, and a warm smile. She wore blue trousers and a pink shirt. Ray looked about 10 years older, with thick dark hair, jeans, a white t-shirt, and tired eyes. It's good to meet you, Latto said. I was just wondering how I could find you. Deborah mentioned your names, but not much else. I never thought. He stopped, remembering her death. Then he added, Anyway, please sit down. They sat together outside in the morning sun. It's so sad about Deborah, Latto began. Have the police said anything more? Yes, Ray answered in a thin voice. The scientists believe she had a sudden heart problem. Martinez told us that this morning. Strange, Latto murmured, shaking his head. She seemed so healthy. She was, Sylvia agreed, but sometimes these things happen. Latto nodded, though he wasn't convinced. After a pause, Ray said, Martinez told us you had trouble last night. Yes, Latto replied, and explained about the man with the earring. When he mentioned the stolen laptop, Sylvia gasped and put her hand to her mouth. Oh no, her laptop, the book! What do you mean? Latto asked, confused. Deborah was writing a book about our work, our methods, what helps patients and what doesn't. Ray explained. She never told me that, said Latto. But are you saying the only copy was on that laptop? Yes, Sylvia said sadly. She never made backups. But surely she printed something or saved it to a CD. Latto insisted. Ray shook his head. No, she wanted to finish it first before sharing it with us. I told her to copy it, but she didn't care about things like that. Sylvia buried her face in her hands. I can't believe it. All that work is gone. Ray checked his watch. I need to go. Patients are waiting. May I use your bathroom before I leave? Of course, Latto said, pointing inside. While Ray was gone, Latto tried to comfort Sylvia. "Couldn't you and Ray write the book again?" She shook her head. "It would take years. Deborah knew so much more than us. We were still learning from her every day." Ray returned, overhearing her words. "She was our leader. Everything we know she taught us. Only she could have written that book." He looked again at his watch. "Sorry, I really must go." After he left, Latto turned to Sylvia. "So Martinez didn't mention the stolen laptop to you?" "No." "Then he doesn't know about the book." "Probably not," she said. "Do you think it matters?" "I'm not sure," Latto admitted. "But it feels strange. I'll tell the police about it when they show me photos this afternoon." Chapter 4. Detective Questions. After Sylvia left, having agreed to meet Latto for dinner, he went back into his room and opened his laptop. Among the emails was one from Deborah Spencer, sent the day he left Britain. Subject: New ways of helping people with Parkinson's disease. Date: 7th March 2006. Deborah had attached a file with details of his visit daily plans, meetings with her, Ray, and Sylvia, and their office addresses. She had even added free time for sightseeing along the California coast. Reading it made Latto feel sad. It was a schedule he might never follow now. Still, perhaps Sylvia and Ray would continue sharing their ideas with him. He copied their office addresses onto his map of Santa Cruz and shut down the computer. It was noon. His head felt better, and he was hungry, but he had to wait for the police. He made a sandwich and ate it outside in the sunshine. Soon Martinez appeared, carrying a laptop. "It's such a nice day, I decided to come myself," he said cheerfully. He nodded toward the ocean. "Good spot you've got here." "Yes, it's great," Latto replied, offering him a chair. "Would you like a beer?" "Thanks, but I'm working. Just a glass of water." Latto brought water, and Martinez set the laptop on the table. "We've got photos here. Scroll through and see if you recognize the man who attacked you." Latto began pressing the keys, one picture after another. While he looked, Martinez asked, "Yesterday you said Western medicine can't do much for Parkinson's patients." "That's true," Latto answered. "There are drugs, but they only help for a few years. Then the condition returns, sometimes worse." "Sounds bad," said Martinez. "It is," Latto agreed. "So how were Ms. Spencer's methods different?" "I don't know everything yet, that's why I came. But she believed that holding and supporting a patient's arms and legs gave the body a chance to heal itself. For some, it made a big difference." Martinez raised his eyebrows. "And it really worked?" "Yes, for some people." Latto reached the end of the photos and closed the laptop. "Sorry he isn't here." "All right," Martinez said, sipping his water and glancing toward the beach, where musicians played guitars and a man walked by with a snake on his shoulders. "The other 2 doctors visited you this morning, didn't they?" he asked. "Yes," Latto replied, "and I learned something important. The stolen laptop was the only place Deborah had written her book, her ideas about helping Parkinson's patients." "She didn't keep a copy?" "No," Latto said. "Ray and Sylvia told me she never bothered." Martinez looked thoughtful. "So you think the thief wanted the book, not just the computer?" "It's possible. Maybe someone wanted her ideas. Maybe even the other doctors?" Martinez asked. Latto smiled faintly. "You're the detective." Martinez chuckled. "True, but I'll check into Ray and Sylvia anyway. The scientists say it wasn't murder, but I like to see the whole picture before closing a case." Chapter 5. Dinner on the Wharf. That evening, Sylvia Koning sat across from Latto at Giovanni's, a restaurant on the wharf. She had changed into jeans and a shirt, with her hair loose around her shoulders. Latto thought she looked even prettier than before. The restaurant windows looked out over the ocean, where a few late surfers were still riding waves. They had enjoyed a fine meal with local white wine. They talked a little about Martinez's visit earlier, though Latto kept quiet about the detective's plan to investigate Ray and Sylvia. Instead, he asked about her work with Parkinson's patients. By the time they were drinking coffee, they were learning more about each other's lives. Sylvia told him about growing up in Stowe, Vermont, with her parents and 3 brothers. Winters were for skiing, summers for fishing and hunting. Latto spoke of his life as a doctor in Melrose, a small town in Scotland. After a pause, Sylvia looked at him. "You're quite unusual, Mark. Are all Americans this direct?" Latto asked with a smile. "My grandmother taught me to say what I think." She laughed. "But you are unusual. Most Western doctors aren't interested in Asian medicine. I've been practicing it for almost 10 years, and you're the first one to care." "Really?" Latto thought for a moment. "It's probably in my family. My father and his brother were doctors, another uncle taught Tai Chi, and my aunt taught yoga, so I grew up around different ideas about health." Sylvia nodded with interest. Latto paid the bill, and they walked slowly back along the wharf. Lights were shining along the beach, but the old amusement park on the boardwalk was closed for winter. "So?" Sylvia asked suddenly. "Is there a Mrs. Latto?" Latto laughed. "Direct again. No, there isn't. Not even a possible Mrs. Latto." He looked at her. "What about a Mr. Koning?" "No one," she said with a smile. She slipped her arm through his as they walked. As they neared the Ocean View Motel, Latto looked up at his room. Most of the seafront rooms were dark, including his. But then he froze. "What is it?" Sylvia asked. "Look my window." Someone was climbing out of it. Without thinking, Latto ran, shouting, "Hey, stop!" Sylvia followed close behind. By the time they reached the motel, the intruder was gone. Latto's window was still open. Inside, his suitcase lay open on the bed. His laptop was missing. Police soon arrived, along with the motel manager and, finally, Martinez. The detective called in the police scientists, but no one could identify the thief. Before leaving, Sylvia touched Latto's arm gently. "I'll call you tomorrow," she promised. After everyone else left, Martinez stayed behind. "Do you always cause this much trouble when you travel?" he asked. "You've been here only a couple of days. First, a dead body. Then someone hits you with a flower pot. And now your computer is gone. Quite a record." Latto tried to smile. "Once a waiter in Paris gave me too much change." Martinez chuckled, then grew serious. "Do you think the thief wanted your laptop in particular?" Latto hesitated. "I've been wondering that, but I don't know why anyone would. If it's new, you could get $500 for it on the street. Enough for some drugs," Martinez suggested. Latto said nothing. "Let's leave it for tonight," Martinez said, tired. "Maybe things will look clearer tomorrow." When he was alone, Latto lay in bed thinking, why would someone want his laptop? Then, just before sleep came, the answer hit him. He knew exactly why and what he had to do in the morning. Chapter 6. Following Ray. At 8 o'clock, Latto woke to the barking of sea lions under the wharf. He drank coffee, then checked his map for Ray Molinaro's office. It was on Frederick Street, close to the Dominican hospital, just a short drive from the motel. The sun was shining again, and Latto dressed in a yellow t-shirt and old blue shorts. He filled a bottle with water and took his camera. Driving in California was easier than he had expected. Even though he was on the opposite side of the road, people drove carefully. It turned onto Broadway, passing neat houses, then left onto Frederick Street. Molinaro's office was at the end, part of a row of small offices near the hospital car park. Latto guessed Molinaro just rented one of them. It was 8:30 and the place was quiet. Latto parked and waited. He thought again about his idea from the night before. Ray had seen his laptop open yesterday morning when he went inside to use the bathroom. Perhaps he noticed Deborah's email and the attachment. He couldn't open it without Latto knowing, so he or someone working with him had stolen the computer later. Did Ray want Deborah's ideas for himself? And if so, did Sylvia know? Latto hoped not. He liked her and didn't want her involved. After a while, a white Dodge pulled up. A young man got out wearing a Surf Santa Cruz t-shirt and shorts. Latto recognized him immediately. The baseball cap and gold earring gave him away. He tried the door to Ray's office, found it locked, then returned to his car with a bag. Waiting, he read a newspaper, paying no attention to the other cars. Moments later, a black Nissan arrived. Ray stepped out, wearing the same clothes as yesterday but with a jacket over his t-shirt. He and the young man spoke briefly. Then Ray pulled an envelope from inside his jacket and handed it over. The man gave Ray the bag in return. Latto quickly took photos. The envelope was thick money, perhaps. The bag looked just the right size for his laptop. The young man drove off, and Ray put the bag in his car before going into his office for a few minutes. Soon he came back, got in his car, and drove away. Latto followed. Ray headed out of town on Highway 1, then joined Highway 101 towards Salinas. After a while, he turned off onto a smaller road and stopped outside a large building. Latto drove past, then circled back slowly. Ray was walking inside, carrying the bag. Latto read the sign. Kaifenheim Laboratories, Inc. Next to it was a picture of two scientists in white coats, one holding up a pill, the other writing notes. Why, Latto wondered, would a doctor of Asian medicine visit a laboratory that made Western drugs? He drove back to Santa Cruz, hungry and unsettled. At the motel, he pulled out a bottle of orange juice. As he pressed the sides, a thin stream of liquid shot from a tiny hole at the top. Latto stared at it. Someone had tampered with the bottle. He quickly picked up the phone. Martinez. It's Latto. I'm at the Ocean View. I've got a serious problem. You'd better come right now. Chapter 7. More Problems. Martinez arrived within 15 minutes. Latto showed him the juice bottle. Watch this, Latto said, pressing the sides gently. Drops of juice leaked from a small hole near the top. I was just about to drink it, he explained. Martinez frowned. So you didn't make that hole? No, and I didn't see it when I bought the bottle either. Then someone put something inside. Martinez said slowly. That's what I think. Latto replied. I'll take it to the scientists. They'll test it. Martinez glanced around the room. Maybe the same person who stole your laptop did this. Or it could have happened this morning while I was out. Latto added. I went to Molinaro's office and, before he could finish, Martinez's phone rang. Latto listened to his half of the call. Yes, speaking. Yes, sir. But, that's true, sir. Yes, I understand. When the call ended, Martinez's face was dark with anger. He left briefly to speak with the motel office, then returned. Nobody saw anything today, he reported. But the cleaners sometimes leave doors open while working. That's all the time someone would need. Latto nodded grimly. Martinez sat down. So now we've got another problem. Someone may be trying to drug you or even kill you, but I've got trouble too. That was my boss, Lieutenant Becker. He's taken me off the case. What? Latto was shocked. The scientists say Deborah wasn't murdered. I work in homicide murder cases. Not robberies, Becca wants me off and someone else will handle the laptop thefts. That's crazy, Latto protested. The scientists could be wrong. If someone is trying to kill me, maybe they killed Deborah too. Martinez gave a thin smile. Becca doesn't like me. Still, this was a surprise. Can't you argue with him? Martinez shook his head. Not worth it. But here's the good news. I've got a free afternoon and evening. The bad news is I can't use police resources, but I'll help you anyway. Thanks, said Latto. After a pause, Martinez asked, So why were you at Molinaro's office this morning? Latto told him everything. How Ray might have seen Deborah's email on his laptop, how he followed him, and how he watched the meeting with the man wearing the earring. He even showed Martinez the photos he had taken and described Ray's visit to Kiefenheim Laboratories. Martinez studied the pictures and nodded. Good work. You'd make a decent detective. Latto smiled. It's a bit like being a doctor. You look at the signs and work out the problem. Same idea. Martinez laughed. Interesting way to put it. He ran his fingers through his hair, then said, I've been digging into Sylvia and Ray myself. Sylvia has a clean record, nothing at all, not even a parking ticket. That sounds good, Latto said. Maybe, Martinez replied, but I never fully trust people who look too perfect. Latto felt uneasy. And what about Ray? Martinez raised a finger. Ah, that's a different story. Chapter 8. Martinez learns the truth. Just then, the phone in Latto's room rang. It was Sylvia. I called you earlier, she said. Where were you? Oh, just out enjoying Santa Cruz. Latto answered. Shall we meet for dinner later? They agreed on a time, and Latto hung up. He turned back to Martinez. You were saying about Ray. Martinez leaned back. Ray Molinaro likes to play cards. In fact, he goes to Las Vegas twice a month to gamble in the casinos. Latto waited for him to go on. The problem is, he's no good at it. A friend in Vegas told me he owes the casinos a lot of money, about $150,000, and they want it back soon. So he's desperate for money. Latto said slowly. Exactly. What are you thinking? Latto hesitated, then explained. Drug companies make millions from Parkinson's medicine. But if Deborah had really found a way to help patients without drugs, those companies could lose a fortune. They might not want that news to spread. Martinez nodded. They'd want to protect their profits. Right, so maybe Kiefenheim paid Ray to destroy Deborah's book. Latto suggested. Possible. Martinez agreed. He knew when the book would be finished, and he knew there was only one copy. Who better to make sure it disappeared? So what do we do now? Asked Latto. We need to find out who Ray talks to at Kiefenheim, and how important that person is. Martinez replied. But we can't just ask him. A small smile crossed his face as he pulled out his phone and some papers. Actually, maybe we can. He found Ray's number and dialed. Latto listened as Martinez pretended to be from California Telecom, asking about wrong numbers at Kiefenheim. He got Ray to confirm which extension he usually called, 342. Then Martinez looked up the number in the phone book, called again, and this time pretended to be someone writing to Matthew Crocker's office. The secretary explained that Crocker was head of development at Kiefenheim. Martinez ended the call and turned to Latto with a satisfied look. So now we know Ray speaks to Crocker, but we don't know what they talk about or whether Crocker is paying him. We need a plan. I think I've got one, Latto said quietly. Chapter 9. Setting the Trap. Latto and Martinez carefully discussed the plan. Once they agreed, Martinez fetched an MP3 recorder from his car and connected it to the motel phone. Latto dialed Kiefenheim Laboratories. Matthew Crocker, please, he said. When the secretary asked who was calling, Latto replied, Tell him it's Dr. Mark Latto. I want to speak about a book that helps Parkinson's patients. Crocker came on the line almost immediately. What can I do for you, Dr. Latto? Latto smiled. It's more about what I can do for you. Really? Crocker asked, clearly curious. I believe I have a copy of a book you're interested in. Latto said. I don't know what you mean. Crocker replied calmly. I think you do. Ray Molinaro told you about it. Deborah Spencer's book. And what makes you think that? Latto's tone hardened. Don't play games. I have a copy. There was silence for a moment. Then Crocker said, I was told there were no copies left. Wrong. Latto explained smoothly. Before I came to California, Deborah emailed me the book. I saved it on a CD. My laptop was stolen, but the CD is safe, and if you're not interested, I'll find another buyer. Crocker hesitated. Can I call you back? No, Latto said firmly. I'll call you in 5 minutes. He hung up. He wiped his hands with a handkerchief. He's calling Ray to check, he told Martinez, and you've got to convince him you want to sell it. Martinez reminded him. That part might sound strange to him. When Latto called back, Crocker was cautious. I don't understand why you want to sell this CD or why you think I'd want to buy it. I want money, Latto said simply. With $150,000, I can open my own health center. That's nothing compared to what your company earns from Parkinson's drugs. Again there was silence. Then Crocker asked, How do I know it's the only copy? You don't, Latto admitted. You'll just have to trust me. Finally, Crocker agreed. All right, we have a deal. Good, said Latto. Tonight, bring old notes $150,000. We'll meet at the University of Santa Cruz Arboretum. Midnight. Impossible, Crocker protested. Not impossible, Latto insisted. If you want the CD, you'll come alone. Go inside the Arboretum, up the hill, then left to the open-air theater. I'll meet you there. Midnight, don't be late. He hung up. Martinez clapped him on the shoulder. Good work, Doc. I'll get what we need and meet you at 11. Chapter 10. The Midnight Meeting. At 10:45 that night, Latto and Sylvia walked up the motel steps. They had eaten at Casey's, talking about books, films, and travel, avoiding the subject of recent events. Latto had enjoyed the evening, though Martinez's suspicions about her still echoed in his mind. He couldn't believe she was involved. As they reached his room, Martinez appeared from the corner. Seeing Sylvia, he raised an eyebrow. We've just had dinner, Latto explained quickly. Then he turned to her. Sylvia, I'm sorry, but I have to help Martinez for a while. You can wait here, and we'll have a drink when I return, or we can meet tomorrow. She hugged him and whispered, Don't be long, I'll wait. Latto handed her his key and followed Martinez to his jeep. What he didn't see was Sylvia running to her own car and following them. On the drive, Martinez said, I found out something else about Crocker. He goes to the same boat club as my boss, Becca. Interesting, Latto replied. They reached the Arboretum in 10 minutes. Martinez unlocked the gate, drove inside, and parked behind some trees. In the bright moonlight, they could see clearly. From the back of the car, Martinez took out 2 guns. He kept one and offered the other to Latto. Take it. Crocker will probably have one. I'd rather not, Latto said firmly. Your choice, Martinez muttered, slipping the second gun back. He clipped a microphone to Latto's jacket and showed him the recorder. I'll hear and record everything. If he searches you and finds one mic, he'll think that's it. So I've hidden another inside your jacket, too. They took torches and walked up the hill. A warning sign on a small building read, Danger, Mountain Lions. Latto raised an eyebrow, but Martinez assured him, We'll stay near the buildings. They won't come close. At the top of the hill, Martinez pointed down to the left. "There's the theater. Wait for him there. I'll hide behind those trees until I've heard enough." Latto sat in an old chair in the open-air theater. The minutes dragged by. He thought back over the last few days, flying from Britain to learn new medical ideas, only to find himself in the middle of a dangerous plot. Just before midnight, a sound came from behind him. He turned. A man stood there, a gun in one hand and a bag in the other. "Matthew Crocker?" Latto asked. "Yes. No need for the gun. I hoped this could be simple." "Sit," Crocker ordered harshly. Latto obeyed. "Where's the CD?" Latto pulled a case slowly from his pocket. "And the money." Crocker dropped the bag and opened it. Bundles of US notes filled it. He straightened again, still pointing his gun. "Now the CD." Latto tossed it to him. Crocker pocketed it. Latto started toward the bag. "Stop!" Crocker barked. At that moment, another figure appeared, the man with the earring. "All clear," he said. "Thanks, Max," Crocker replied, smiling coldly. He looked back at Latto. "Unlucky for you, Doctor. This is the end." Chapter 11. Captured. Latto's heart raced. Martinez must have heard everything by now, he thought. But had Crocker said enough? Maybe if he kept him talking, more would come out. "So you ordered Deborah Spencer's death?" Latto asked steadily. Crocker laughed coldly. "You British and your polite words. Yes, I ordered it. We spent millions on Parkinson's drugs. I wasn't going to lose that money because of her book. I wanted her gone and her work destroyed. Everything was going perfectly until she sent you a copy. Very unlucky for you." Max grinned beside him. "Did you use one of your company's drugs to kill her?" Latto pressed. "Yes," Crocker said easily. "Chlorperoxamine. It helps weak hearts in small amounts, but in a large dose, it stops any heart weak or strong. It disappears quickly in the blood, too, so unless you know what to look for, you won't find it." Latto nodded slowly. "So that's what Max put in my orange juice?" Crocker's smile faded. "How do you know about that?" Before Latto could answer, there was noise behind the trees. Finally, he thought, Martinez is coming. But it wasn't Martinez. Crocker smiled cruelly. "Ah, Ray, you found someone hiding." Ray appeared, holding a gun to Martinez's back. Martinez's hands were behind his head, his face tight with anger. In his other hand, Ray carried the recorder. "He was hiding and recording everything," Ray said, tossing the device near Crocker. He pulled Martinez's gun from his pocket and handed it to Crocker. "Well, well," Crocker said smoothly. "Detective Martinez, Becca and I were just talking about you earlier today." He turned back to Latto. "Once again, Doctor, you tried to be clever." He nodded at Ray. "Search him. Make sure he doesn't have anything else." Ray patted Latto down, finding both microphones. He threw them to Crocker, who crushed them under his shoe. Latto glanced around. Now all three, Crocker, Ray, and Max, had guns. Escape seemed hopeless. "Wait," Latto said quickly, desperate to stall. "That CD wasn't the only copy I made." Crocker shook his head and laughed. "Too late. I believed you the first time. You know what I can do. I don't believe there's another copy." He looked at his men. "Ray, Max, you know what to do. Get rid of them. Throw the bodies in the sea and the recorder, too." Crocker pocketed his gun, picked up the bag of money, and started up the hill. But he had barely taken a few steps when a strong voice rang out from the darkness. "Drop your guns and don't move!" Chapter 12. Guns and Mountain Lions. Crocker froze and looked around. For a moment no one could see who had spoken. Then Crocker reached for his gun. A sudden shot rang out. Crocker screamed and dropped the bag. Everyone moved at once. Latto reacted quickly. He knocked Molinaro's gun aside and struck him hard in the stomach. Molinaro fell forward. Latto hit him again on the back of the head. Molinaro lay still on the ground. Martinez reached Crocker in seconds. Crocker was bleeding from his left hand where the bullet hit him. Martinez forced him down face first and held his good hand behind his back. Then, with one quick move, Martinez took Crocker's gun. He stepped back and kept a careful watch. Max had already run. He turned and ran into the trees when he heard the shot. Latto saw someone else sprint past him and follow Max. He grabbed Molinaro's gun and gave chase. Max was fast and led them through the arboretum. They passed the South African garden and then the New Zealand garden. Max ran about 20 meters ahead and suddenly vanished into thick trees. Everything went quiet. Latto moved forward slowly and saw a figure among the branches. Long brown hair tied back. Sylvia. Sylvia, what are you doing here? He breathed. Shh, she warned, eyes on the trees. Far away came an animal sound, then another, much closer. Sylvia whispered, "Mountain lions. Can they hurt us?" Latto asked. "Yes, they can kill," she answered without turning. Then she asked, "The man with the earring, what's his name?" "Max." Sylvia called into the trees, "Hey, Max, there are mountain lions about. Want one on your heels? Come out and drop your gun, or the lions will find you." More rustling, then Max came running toward them. Behind him, a mountain lion followed, closing fast. Sylvia dropped to one knee and aimed her gun. For a second, everything waited. Then she fired. The mountain lion took one step and fell. Sylvia stood and pointed her weapon at Max. "Stop!" she ordered. "Drop your gun!" Max obeyed. Back at the open-air theater, Martinez was on the phone. "I need a van here and about 5 officers. There are 3 men. No, 2, maybe 3, to take into custody. 1 needs hospital care." He hung up and turned to Sylvia. "Not a bad shot," he said. "She just shot a mountain lion." Latto said, still amazed, "I told you I used to shoot a lot in the summer." Sylvia replied with a small smile. Crocker sat on the ground holding a handkerchief to his bloody hand. Latto walked over and reached into Crocker's jacket. He pulled out the CD and held it up. "This is what caught you," Latto said. "Do you want to know what's on it? Bad country music. That's it. There never were any other copies of Deborah's book." He looked at Martinez. Right, Martinez answered. Crocker's expression changed into a half-smile. "Well, at least Deborah's book will never be read. Kaifenheim will be pleased, even if I go to jail." He laughed weakly. By then, blue lights flashed as police cars drove through the arboretum gates and up to the theater. Chapter 13. The Truth About Deborah. "Molinaro has told us everything," Martinez said the next morning. He, Latto, and Sylvia were sitting outside Latto's motel room in the sunshine after breakfast at Casey's. "So it was Ray?" Sylvia asked in disbelief. "He killed Deborah?" "Yes," Martinez replied. "He says Crocker ordered him, so we're charging Crocker with murder too." "And Ray gave her the cloporoxamine?" Latto asked. "That's right," Martinez confirmed. "He put the drug into some milk in her fridge. It was only a matter of time before she drank it. The scientists will check her body again, but the drug disappears quickly, just like Crocker said. They may never find it." Sylvia shook her head sadly. "I can't believe Ray would do that. His patients trusted him." Martinez turned to Latto. "And it looks like Max was the one who tried to kill you. Ray saw you follow him to Salinas. He told Crocker, and Crocker sent Max to your room to poison your orange juice." Latto frowned. "But if Crocker thought I'd soon be dead, why meet me last night?" Because he didn't know when you'd die. Martinez explained. He believed you had the CD and didn't want the police to find it first. With Deborah, it was easier. He just sent Max later to take her laptop. Latto nodded slowly. So Crocker ordered Deborah's death to protect his company's money. Exactly, Martinez said. Sylvia covered her face with her hands. How can anyone think money is worth more than a life? No one answered. They sat in silence for a while. Then Latto asked, "What about Becca?" He quickly explained to Sylvia how Martinez's boss knew Crocker from the boat club. Right now, Becca's clear. Martinez admitted. Crocker mentioned him at the Arboretum, but that was after the recording stopped. And Crocker isn't saying much now. But don't worry, I'll be watching him closely. He gave a short laugh. After he left, Latto and Sylvia stood together looking down at the ocean. Latto slipped his arm around her shoulders. He felt sure now she hadn't known what Ray and Crocker were doing. She had proved herself at the Arboretum. Tell me, he asked softly, why did you follow us out there last night? Sylvia smiled. I told you I had 3 brothers. I know what men get up to late at night. It usually means trouble. Latto laughed. Santa Cruz is still a great place, Sylvia said, looking up at him. And even though I'm not Deborah, I can still show you new ways to help Parkinson's patients. Latto smiled warmly. Good. I was hoping you'd say that. But Deborah also made sure I had some free time. Sylvia leaned closer, her eyes bright. Then she kissed him gently. Maybe we should start with some free time, she whispered. Chapter 14, 10 days later. Latto ended up staying in Santa Cruz for the full 2 weeks. He and Sylvia spent nearly all that time together. She showed him how Deborah had trained her to help Parkinson's patients, and he watched her at work. In the evenings and nights, they stayed at her house near Twin Lakes State Beach. On the weekend, they drove south to Monterey and Big Sur. They tried not to think about his return to Scotland. On his last evening, they sat outside his motel room, drinking beer and watching the ocean. Suddenly Martinez appeared, carrying 2 bags. Your laptop, he said, handing one to Latto. The police in Salinas found it at Crocker's house. The scientists are done with it, so I thought you'd want it back before leaving. Thanks, Latto said with relief. Better check it still works, Martinez advised. Then he placed the second bag on the desk inside the room and opened it. Another laptop was inside. This is Deborah Spencer's, Martinez explained. He switched it on and showed them an email that had arrived just 2 days earlier. Subject, your book. Date, 14th March 2006. From Dr. Alison Partridge, ali.partridgehealthcan.ca. To Deborah Spencer, SpencerIintercruise.com. Dear Deborah, I was so pleased to get the copy of your book you emailed me last week. I've read it carefully, and I think it's excellent. Yes, drug treatments for Parkinson's are improving, but your way of understanding the disease is new and different. I have lots of questions. I'll be in San Francisco soon for work, and I'd love to come to Santa Cruz maybe March 30 or 31. Which day would suit you best? By the way, I heard from Gina last week, after 15 years. Do you remember her? She was the very tall one in our UCLA class. I'll tell you all about it when I see you. With best wishes, Ali. Martinez looked at them with a small smile. So you see, Deborah's book isn't gone after all. That's the end of Medicine and Murder. If you enjoy gripping mysteries, shocking twists, and a fight against greed and corruption, this story is for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next thrilling adventure.